the Furman Paladins, the Mercer Bears. A couple of teams that could well make a run toward a Southern Conference championship. Come March in Asheville, I'm with Dean Keener, Pete Hannity with you. Furman jumped out, hitting their first three-point attempts. It's what they do, but Greg Gary and the Mercer Bears looking to protect the home court. They can knock them down from three-point land, and it's a Mercer team that's trying to slow the tempo. The Chattanooga Mocs were picked to win the Southern Conference, but right on their heels, there are the Paladins and the Bears.
Yeah, look, Greg Gary and staff have done a marvelous job since the loss of point guard Neftali Alvarez back in mid-December. Gary has pulled all the right strings, has the Bears in position as we reach the halfway point of league play, and they've particularly been good here. They've taken care of home, 8-1 inside Hawkins Arena, but they've got their hands full against a really good Furman Paladin team.
As you look at the SoCon standings, you could probably go all the way down to UNCG, Wofford, ETSU, as teams that once we get to Asheville, North Carolina in March, could have a shot to get the automatic bid for the NCAA tourney. But the Paladins have weapons like Jalen Slauson, among others, who can hit them. And they've got guards like Alex Hunter and Marcus Jones, a swingman. They've done some damage so far.
Yeah, look, that's what the Furman Paladins do. They take and they make a lot of threes. They average taking 31 per game. With that, they lead the Southern Conference at over 39%. So that's a really good clip. Entering the game, they had made 53 in their last 3 games compared to just 17 for their opponents. A great weapon for this Paladin team.
And you just have to marvel at the fact that they've made 53. Obviously, many more attempts than that. But as we continue on tonight, we'll talk about just how prolific the three-point shooting is, not only for the Furman Paladins, but for several teams and several individuals in the Southern Conference.
Yeah, I mean, if you like the three ball, you've got to like Southern Conference. Now, look, we talked about 53 over the last 3 games, but it's not just the Paladins, right? VMI, the Citadel, and others utilize this more than anybody else. Furman has made more threes than anybody else in Division I basketball.
Let's take a look at our starting lineups for our ball game tonight, brought to you by Chase Freedom Unlimited. And for Bob Ritchie and the Paladins of Furman, they've got a veteran ball club. Mercer Bears, a team that plenty of experience, although several of their players have arrived here within the last couple of seasons. But you talk about a guy like Mike Bothwell and all the basketball he's played at Furman. On the other side, Jalen Johnson, who began his career at Tennessee, then went to Wake Forest, and Felipe Hasse was at South Carolina before he transferred here to the Macon, Georgia school. Here's Slauson trying to work inside on Big Shannon. Granter just checked in, and the turnover is forced. Robertson pushing the pace, the blow-by, and the finish.
Boy, a terrific move by Kamar Robertson. Great body control to finish that.
Another try from the outside by Foster. He's off to a good start. And Marcus Foster.
College basketball on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Chase Freedom Unlimited. How do you cash back? By Emergency. Emerge your best with Emergency. And by AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, and secure.
And welcome back to Macon, Georgia. A 2-point lead for the visiting Furman Paladins on the Mercer Bears with Dean Keener, Pete Hannity with you. So far, we've seen pretty intense battle on each end of the court. A couple of teams we showed you near the top of the Southern Conference standings, but Mercer, with already a loss in the regular season to Furman and trying to hang near the top, trying to protect the home court, a really important game for them, I think.
It's critical for both teams, but you're exactly right. I mean, they've got to maintain home court advantage. They're 8-1, as we mentioned here this season. But if they're going to stay at the top, and what you want to try to finish in the top 6 so that you're not playing 4 games in 4 days come tournament time. But yeah, but it's equally big for Furman. Look, they're trying to keep pace with a Chattanooga team that they've already lost to once and won earlier today.
What a touch pass. Slauson down low, and Mike Bothwell with the bucket gets into the scoring column. Jalen Slauson, among the many things he does well, is he has piled up the assists this season.
You know, the Southern Conference has been so good recently, but look what Greg Gary's done in the state. You talked about being in Middle Georgia. They have the best record. And by the way, they beat Georgia Tech, Georgia State, and Georgia Southern a year ago. Came back and beat Georgia State, Georgia Southern, and Kennesaw this year. Did they call themselves the champs of Georgia? They've been really good the last 3 years.
Hasse, the soft touch. First points in the game for Felipe Hasse, originally from Chile. Over 15 a contest to lead this Mercer team.
The guy had started his career and played at South Carolina, but has really found a home here at Mercer the last couple of years.
Cross-court pass, Huey kicks in the corner. Joe Anderson, that's what he does. He was a great high school scorer in Maryville, Tennessee. Leads the Furman team at nearly 50% beyond the arc. Picking up the personal.
The Paladins share the ball as well as anybody. Watch Bothwell. He sees out of the corner of his eye. He sees Huey, who makes the pass in the corner. Look, this is a team that assists on almost 65% of their shots. By far and away, that leads the Southern Conference. I mean, to give you some perspective, coaches want to assist on about 54 to 55% of their shots. Again, the Paladins at 65. They're sharing the rock.
Hands off to Robertson. Hasse, dangerous from the wing. Deflected on almost a great save for the possession by Jalen Johnson. Here come the Paladins. Hunter, quick move. Heen underneath, and a reverse for Garrett Heen. His first bucket, a 6'9" sophomore out of Charlotte.
His numbers were up from a year ago in the preseason or the non-conference, but hasn't played as much here. That's a good start for him.
Another quick move to the basket by Kamar Robertson. Junior from just outside of Atlanta, but Heen gets behind the Mercer D. And I believe a delay of game warning against Garrett Heen. 7:37 to go, opening half. We're in Macon, Georgia. Bob Ritchie and Furman looking to get another win on the road in the SoCon.
Not a critical time, but certainly a time where the Bears kind of got to find some rhythm offensively, and it may start right there with Hasse.
With the one-hander off the glass, Felipe Hasse brings his team back within 8. He's got half a dozen.
Nice touch. He's got good hands. He's got great feet. It's just a matter of making sure he doesn't get stuck between the free throw line sometimes.
Bothwell, so strong inside, bounced off a ground, still got it to go home.
Yeah, that's just a pure score. That's just, there's no play to that. That was just an individual move right there. Say it time and time again, Bothwell, as good a guard as the Southern Conference has to offer.
Johnson, strong move, and a strong rebound inside by Huey. And it'll be Paladins ball with a timeout on the court. Joe Anderson comes off the bench, and pretty much when he steps on the court, the ball is his. He loves to fire from afar. He does it so well, and the Paladins lead by 10. Kamar Robertson. And Jackson Greco out high for Mercer. Hasse, as soon as he touches it, sees the double team. Skip pass, Greco. One and done for Mercer.
That's what Greco does best. He is a three-point shooter, much like Garrison for the Paladins. Just couldn't get it to go down.
Bothwell back outside, Slauson. Hunter able to knock it down. Alex Hunter now 1 of 3 beyond the arc. Top 5 in the nation, both in makes and attempts from three-point land. Furman's biggest lead of the night, 13-point advantage. There's under 2.5 to go before the break. Hunter to Garrison. Another 3 from outside for the Paladins. And now Greg Gary just has to stop the momentum train. That is Furman. They have built a 16-point lead on the road here in Macon, Georgia, against the Bears of Mercer.
Played a lot of games. You know, and I know in this day and age of super seniors, guys getting an extra year, there's going to be records broken for most games played, but this is Alex Hunter's 146th college basketball game. 112 start.
Down the lane goes Slauson.
My goodness, there's not much that stops me from talking, but that put an exclamation to a big run that Furman is on right now.
Jalen Slauson, such an athletic player.
Well, we talk about it. Look, I said it earlier, he's a force multiplier. He makes everybody around him better. He does it at the defensive end, the offensive end. But look, he's got the athleticism to finish at the rim like that, he's got a chance to play at another level.
Back-to-back 25-win season just a few years ago. Bothwell was trying to add to the advantage at the break. It's still sizable for the Furman Paladins. They're up by 19 on the road. They're trying to improve to 6-6 away from their home Timmons Arena on the season. A Furman team seeking win number 16. Marcus Foster and crew trying to make it a sweep and a 14th straight win in the series against the Mercer Bears. James Glisson got off to a good start, but Garrett Heen and the Paladins up big at the break. Welcome back to college basketball on CBS Sports Network, presented by Chase Freedom Unlimited. We're in Macon, Georgia. Here at the half, the Furman Paladins a dominant first 20 minutes, a 44-25 lead on the road against the Mercer Bears. We welcome you back into Hawkins Arena with Dean Keener, Pete Hannity with you. A Furman team that likes to dictate tempo and flow with their defense. That was evident in the opening half.
Yeah, it was. They did everything everything Furman basketball does. They took threes, they made threes, but they had deflections and steals that they then turned into points. 11 points off of steals and in transition. They were really flawless.
Now let's take a look at some of the first half action. Paladins building roughly a 20-point lead late in the opening half. Yeah, you mentioned turnovers, 17-3 on points off turnovers, but assists to baskets made has also been big.
It was 11 assists on 15 made baskets. They just were really, really good. They were dialed in after about the first 4 minutes. You saw Slauson on the touch pass, you saw Pegues on the extra pass, and then Hunter on the dump down. We could have showed that time and time again.
And our first half stats brought to you by Emergency. Mercer shooting 41% from the field, but again, when Furman's hitting 50% beyond the arc, it tells a big story on how things have transpired to this point.
And those turnovers a big story as well. You know, look, 5 less shots taken by the Bears, and they just didn't get to the line enough. I'm sure Greg Gary has some things that he can counter with, but the biggest thing right now is just keep their heads up, and they got to chip away at this thing, possession by possession, and limit turnovers.
Ball deflected out high. Foster. Hasse got a hand on it. Felipe Hasse coming in, 11 blocks on the season. A stop for Mercer. Glisson's got the size advantage on the two trying to defend him. It's Johnson coming across the lane. Second time they've gone to Johnson out of the locker room. That's probably also part of the message.
Well, you got to get him going a little bit, absolutely. I mean, he's a talented offensive scorer. But they went inside to Glisson, and just as he saw the double, kind of that bluff and retreat by Garrison, Johnson was able to cut to the basket. Nice possession right there.
Conley Garrison hits another three. He is a perfect. Taken off the floor. Jones, the freshman, crossing over on the fifth-year senior Hunter, and a nice move.
Boy, Jordan Jones has really stepped up. We talked early in the first half about a kid who didn't really play much. He scored 7 points in the non-conference, and because of the injury to starting point guard Neftali Alvarez and really some nagging ankle injuries to Kamar Robertson, Jordan Jones has been thrust into a major role.
Slauson, who is apt to shoot it from outside. Hunter will take him as well and make him.
He's going to become Furman's all-time three-point make. That's incredible when you talk about the guys they've had.
Bothwell knocked it away. He'll get it wide open. Paladins building on their biggest lead of the night so far, up by 23. Jones, a freshman point guard, has really seen his role increase. Throws it away. This time Slauson. A lob. Bothwell. Layups worked just fine, although he really didn't have the angle to throw it home. And just like that, the Furman Paladins continuing here early in the second half where they left off in the first. Greg Gary recognizing that, the Mercer coach will go ahead and use a timeout. Mike Bothwell, all kinds of style, but not necessarily always with flash.
It doesn't necessarily matter. Bob Ritchie, he's happy. Doesn't matter. They don't ask how, they ask how many. Bothwell and the Paladins up big.
Tomorrow night at 8 Eastern, hit the dirt with CBS Sports Network as we head out west for the Wrangler Long Live Cowboys Classic. Catch PBR Unleash the Beast right here on the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. She is hoping she gets to wave those shakers a whole lot more as this second half continues. The home team, the Mercer Bears, in a deep hole against the team just ahead of them in the Southern Conference standings here early on in the second half, the Furman Paladins.
Yeah, the Paladins open, a big lead at halftime, 44-25, and now 10-4 here in the second half. And again, it's kind of the same story. Turnovers by the Bears, and with a major piece of Greg Gary's puzzle gone, the Bears have found a way to adapt in the backcourt until today, and they've really struggled here through the first, 24 minutes or so.
Hasse, strong move on Hunter.
If you haven't seen Southern Conference basketball, you're missing something. Not only this year, the last 3 to 5 years.
Cross-court pass, Huey kicks in the corner. Joe Anderson, that's what he does.
He does it at the defensive end, the offensive end. But look, he's got the athleticism to finish at the rim like that.
All Furman so far tonight here in Macon, Georgia. Hawkins Arena. Paladins up 54-29. Jalen Slauson and Furman on the Mercer Bears. A 22-5 run currently going back to the late stages of the opening half. Have been a team that has won decisively in the 3 games. Knocked away by Heen. Garrison. Hasse over to defend. Good job recovering by Mercer. Shovel underneath. And the finish by Tyrese Huey, freshman for this Furman team out of Columbus, Ohio.
And Paul, it's fun to watch. I mean, there can be times where 4 and sometimes 5. Look at this. Garrison to Anderson, the extra pass, Big East, and then inside for the basket. I mean, that's just really good basketball. It's not necessarily a play that Bob Ritchie drew up, but that's hours of practice and film watching, and to get your guys the right culture to where, again, the go-to guy's the open guy. It's not about me. Watch this last pocket pass here. Joe Anderson, and then the pick and roll by Heen. He's thinking dunk. Again, just good, solid, fundamental basketball. Nothing fancy, but it'll win you a lot of basketball games, and we've seen that over the years, Pete, as we've done Furman games.
Paladins coming in, having won 7 of their 9 SoCon games, but playing with as much flow. Bob Ritchie has to be feeling about as good about this performance as he had any of the previous 9 in conference play.
Yeah, you just made the comment that they lost that tough one. Now there's another steal.
That time Anderson on the bad pass. Huey, I don't think he was expecting it. Underneath Heen.
Well, yeah, there's not much more you can say. I mean, it's the turnovers, the threes, they sound like a broken record. But going back to the closed loop, you're talking about the loss at Chattanooga for Furman. And you know that they've got that return date to Timmons Arena circled in a couple of weeks. But since then, they've been dialed in, and this is just an extension. This will be now their 4th win in a row since that tough loss in the Scenic City.
Shot clock under 10. Robertson. Walker driving on Huey. Strong move, couldn't finish. Bafuto gets the rebound. Robertson. Nice feed by the big guy to Kamar Robertson for another bucket. Anyone in this conference at denying the pass inside.
And I'll tell you what he does. He plays defense before his man gets the ball. He's locked and loaded at all times.
Robertson from the elbow. Bafuto tried to push it to a teammate, but out of bounds it goes, and the Furman Paladins will get it back. They're up big here in Macon, Georgia, a SoCon Saturday. The Chattanooga Mocs picked up another road win today in Charleston, South Carolina against the Citadel. They sit atop the Southern Conference. Furman looking like they're going to keep pace, and still with a game at home against Chattanooga coming up later in the season, as the teams picked 1 and 2 in the Southern Conference sit right there. But boy, Chattanooga, we've seen them a little bit this year, including a couple weeks ago. Very impressive team led by one of the top mid-major players in the country in Malachi Smith.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Malachi Smith, I mean, he is, as they say, appointment TV, a talented guard, but he's not the only guy on that team. David Jean-Baptiste, a guy who had missed some games early in conference play, is now back. Sylvia DeSouza, the transfer from Kansas. They've got a lot of pieces on that Chattanooga team. You see that ranking, that net, the NCAA evaluation tool, it's pretty gaudy. 18-4 record. Look, I'm not ready to tell you that they're an at-large team, but hypothetically, if the Mocs run the rest of the regular season and win the first 2 games and make it to Monday night in Asheville and happen to lose, they would finish 30-5. So certainly, that is something to monitor. But first things first, they've got a long way to go because they've got the Furman and Paladins right on their heels, and that will be a heck of a game back in Timmons Arena.
Chattanooga's best non-conference win coming against VCU. Robertson the steal. Slauson trailing. Count the basket. Lead back out to 24. Bafuto on the wing to Walker, who just picked up his third foul. On the bounce pass, finger roll for Victor Bafuto. Hadn't played in the past couple of games. He had 8 against Furman in the loss earlier this season.
And that's what Bafuto needs to do. Not only now, but kind of prepare for war in times of peace. He needs to get ready for the future because he's going to be counted on as the Bears head into the second half of play.
Picks up his second personal, and we've got a timeout on the court. The Furman Paladins in control. We're in Macon, Georgia. They're taking on the Bears of Mercer. Welcome back to college basketball on CBS Sports Network, presented by Chase Freedom Unlimited. And following our game, doubleheader action ahead. Coming up next, Pepperdine tries to make waves on the West Coast. They face the Gales of St. Mary's, followed by a nightcap in the Mountain West in Reno. Nevada's Wolfpack going head-to-head against Utah State's Aggies. That's at 10 o'clock Eastern. You can catch it all right here on CBS Sports Network. The Gonzaga Bulldogs doing what they do, but lo and behold, there's St. Mary's right there. Every year it just seemingly comes down to those two, although BYU's been good. San Francisco lost a game they should not have lost the other night.
Yeah, and look, we talk about the Southern Conference having good players and good coaches. Randy Bennett, what he's done at St. Mary's to try to somewhat keep pace with the Zags. Todd Golden, what he's done after taking over for Kyle Smith at San Francisco. Kyle Smith now at Washington State. Herb Sendek at Santa Clara. I mean, that is a multi-bid league this year, the West Coast Conference.
From the wing, Garrison can't get it to fall. And Harrison Drake comes down with the rebound. And Garrison basket moments ago cut into an 11-5 Mercer run. Furman this season, when leading at the half, is 12-2, but both of their SoCon losses coming when they led at the break. Does not look like that's going to be a trend that happens here this evening. Huey from way outside. He was just 1 of 7 from beyond the arc in his early Furman career coming into the night.
He's another Ohioan, another from the Buckeye State. Bothwell on this team. That staff has gone to the Midwest and gotten some really good players over the years.
Pegues, a freshman from Nashville, handling things. He's their point guard of the future. Furman team that's had only 3 starting point guards over the past 10 years. Talk about stability.
No question. We talked that Stephen Kroon was outstanding, followed by John Davis III, and then Alex Hunter. You're right, Pegues, Joe Anderson can play it. It's in good hands for this foreseeable future.
Something else Furman does that a lot of basketball programs on any level don't do is they redshirt a lot of guys, usually 2 a season. Look at Huey cleaning up on the Garrison miss.
Well, and you're exactly right. I mean, they've had some guys that have. Foster's a guy that has really benefited from the transfer, or excuse me, from the redshirt rule. Although Noah Gurley, that's where I get this. He redshirted, had an outstanding 3 years on campus. Now he's at Alabama. And in this day and age of the transfer portal, that's something Bob Ritchie has to really manage. But he talks about work while you wait. And I don't know that they're going to get away from redshirting. It's just part of the culture of that program. And if you can recruit the right kid who wants to get better and knows that his time will come, it just may take an extra year. Hey, I love it. That's kind of old school. You don't see that much anymore. Everybody wants to have, that instant gratification. And the minute they're not playing, they've got a coach or a parent or somebody in their ear. No, not at all. And it's been turnovers and just not shooting the ball straight for the Bears here. And really what I know is going to be disappointing for the entire team. Greg Gary knew the importance of this game as they filled this arena, as they trying to keep pace at the top, and now they kind of fall back into that middle group of really 3, 4, 5 teams all trying to battle for the best seeding they can reach before they get to Asheville in the tournament.
Great high-low on Heen, getting it inside, and an N1 opportunity coming up. Timeout on the court. Dominant performance tonight for the Furman Paladins. They're up by 30. They're moving the basketball. Joe Anderson, Garrett Heen, and Tyree Shuey. A big lead. Welcome back to college basketball on CBS Sports Network, presented by Chase Freedom Unlimited. Give you our AT&T game summary, presented by AT&T 5G. And, well, the theme of it all is Huey can't get it to go, but the rebound inside by Foster. The true theme, dominant performance in just about every aspect by the Furman Paladins.
It is. I mean, across the board. I mean, you don't have to look at anything in particular. That 21 turnovers certainly stands out, as well as the points off turnovers, right? I mean, it's been a dominating performance by Furman, and while the Bears haven't given up by any stretch of the imagination, it's been hard for them to continue, you know, just their focus and energy and effort on a night where they've turned it over, they haven't shot well, and Furman has taken advantage. 19 assists on 26 field goals. I mean, just, it is the way the game is supposed to be played, and they continue to build momentum toward that February 12th matchup when Chattanooga will return. Now look, Bob Ritchie's going to tell you there's games between now and then, and each one carries significant importance. But
we almost got a whole lot of Tyree Shuey courtside where we are. And it's the power of the stereo net sound mics that we have working too.
You don't know the speed and the strength of NASCAR until you're in person, and it's similar when you're in a near accident in a basketball courtside.
I once worked with a coach that enjoyed and really built his program around players who he would always say long and athletic, and that's something about this Furman team. They have several players like a Foster, like a Tyree Shuey, that fit that category, and allows them to be so versatile. Anderson nearly took it away. Huey ties it up to Tucker.
Yeah, and it's versatile at the defensive end, and you talked about how they chart deflections, but it's also versatile at the offensive end, right, where they're able to get the shot off against maybe a shorter defender, where they can get, you know, second chance opportunities. There is clearly a method to their madness in recruiting, as you see a Hail Mary shot there with the shot clock going off.
Here tonight in Macon, Georgia, they will double that, come away with a 30-point victory, and extend their run in the series to 15 in a row. And Bob Ritchie knows full well if he has to see Mercer again in the SoCon Tourney in Asheville in March, he will see a Mercer team that'll be up to the task and show better than they did this evening. It's the Furman Paladins, though, who really put the pedal to the metal midway through the opening half and never looked back. What a performance by Bob Ritchie's team, which goes out and gets win number 16 on the season, improves 8-2 in the conference. And Mercer falls to 12-10 and 5-4, and you see it right there in front of you. And now some separation beginning between the top two teams and the other 8.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the Paladins lost a tough one at Chattanooga, but they're talented, they're tough, they're together, and they are keeping pace toward that February 12th rematch. Just a dominating performance by the Paladins. Not much more you can say.
Big win with lots of basketball to follow coming up after we leave you from Macon, Georgia. For Dean Keener and our great crew, Pete Ganity saying so long. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports.
Welcome inside our New York studios alongside Seth Davis, Wally Zerbiak, Shelvin Mack. I am Brent Stover. All Paladins impressive. You talked to the half.